Yo, I'm Sven, drummer and graphic artist at Svenimol.art. In this video I show the process of turning a photo I made of Charlotte, a friend of mine, into a pastel drawing and handing over the art print I made of it. So let's get into the groove!
Break it down, 3, 2, 1, sign the beat.
I made this photo while experimenting with my Canon M50 camera and several lenses I bought. With the bright colors, nice composition and wide range of values, I thought this was a good photo to see how far I could get with the pastels I got. It's a while ago I made this drawing, but probably I used Canson Methane 60 by 80 cm Perspex cardboard. It has quite a heavy grit on the tone side and is blank on the other side. This was just an experiment, because of losing grit when making corrections in my previous pastel drawings, and I want to experiment with layers of coloring. The art I like is mostly from artists that make use of the properties of the medium, and in most cases the canvas, and when these properties are shown in the art. In a pastel drawing I like the powdery look, like in for instance the Ballet Dancers by Edgar Degas, or the rough, oily look in especially later Rembrandts. In hindsight, this honeycomb pattern is perfect if you like to keep a certain kind of roughness in your art, but in some parts I wanted more a saturated or opaque look, with bright colors like the photo, and that took quite some effort, as you can see in the video. As you can see later in the video, I used mostly Derwent pastel pencils that I bought in a 72-piece box. The limited amount of pencils in every color group inspired me to be more creative. I like the background of my canvas to inspire me. Just like with my skateboards, I like to leave some wood unpainted or let the wood structure shine through some of the background wash, for instance. I really like the cream color or Naples yellow look and let the possibility open to make use of the tone of this cardboard. As you can see here, I use the grid method to make the rough drawing. Of course, the best way to train your eye is the more traditional method of sketching the outlines or silhouette of the face first and then fill in the rest. You can also trace the lines with a projector or use carbon paper, like I do sometimes while working on skateboards. My opinion is that drawing from life might be the best to do, whether it is for use of color or for anatomy, but to be honest, I can spend the rest of my life making studies instead of a complete drawing. So I try and learn as much as possible about drawing, but also invest time in learning about materials and methods, and I'm constantly aware of the fact that transfer methods are just a helping tool. Every artist I admire, whether it is Drew Struzan, Julie Bell or Norman Rockwell, they all use reference photos and or other helping tools, and my goal is never to copy the exact photo. With charcoal, I probably would have drawn only guidelines and quickly filled the larger shapes of shadow and light, but I wanted to really focus on color. So I went quite detailed with the lines in the focal point, which is the face, so I was sure it had a likeness from the start. I made a quick selection of mainly warm tones and focused on difference in value and added some cooler shadow colors later. This is the way I work. I want to have a quick overview of colors that I'm gonna use and how they look with each other. Also, I thought it was best to accentuate senses, the mouth, nose and eyes, to prevent losing the original sketch, and I used cooler dark colors that I could unify with lighter colors later. To give more focus on the face, a logical step is to fade the background. I have to say, my way of working is not always the schoolbook procedure of blocking in the complete drawing first and cover the canvas completely and then render shadows and lights. Although I really can relate to this process of blocking in large areas or shapes, I sometimes need the boost of optimism that I get from knowing if the colors and the likeness work like I planned it. Using the grid stems from my work as graffiti or street art artist, when I do complex compositions or make portraits. I have to finish a wall in preferably one day. I can truly say drawing on this paper grid or tooth feels like working hard, and therefore I really had to set goals to prevent losing the overview or get in the daily grind. Although red is a dominant color that comes to the front, I think the large area of the red building and car could be done with a medium value red, as long as I don't make the edges in the background too hard. The orange of the car gives a small accent for the balance in the composition. I normally use black very sparse, like I rarely use pure white straight onto the canvas. This paper grid or tooth was on the other hand so rough that I decided to block in the darker side of the hair from the face outwards with black that I smudged into the paper grid, and then I used an eraser pencil to make subtle differences in shades. I created that by drawing hair over it with lighter brown tones. Of course, this light over dark didn't really work perfect. But with the back and forth of erasing and drawing in brown curls with lighter browns towards the outside of the hair, in the end I got a depth that I wanted. With this heavy grit, pastels are quite forgiving. I went pretty detailed with the face and skin overall first, then blocked in most of the background, and that gave me the energy to go back to the face or skin and even correct an eye. For the detailed green background, my process was kind of the same as the hair. I looked at the overall unifying color behind the lit up stems and leaves, and then with lighter colors I went over it. Sometimes using my eraser pencil and even white to let some leaves pop out more than others. Although this heavy tooth took me way longer to cover the paper, I really enjoyed seeing the image grow, and working with a limited amount of color pencils for every color group made me think less and do more. I made use of the color of the tone paper for the lighter parts of the face and used it mainly as frame around the drawing. As I found out, charcoal and pastel drawings fade away unless kept lying flat, I made an art print while the colors were still vibrant and handed it over to Charlotte later. So enjoy the rest of the video, and I love to hear from you in the comments or get a like or subscribe. See the links in the description. Thanks for watching. So we are here in Alkmaar. The weather is really bad, so let's go. Ik heb wat voor je.
Oh, dat vind ik echt heel mooi. Oh, nee, ik vind het zo leuk. Dankjewel, ik dacht er nog aan van, ik ga je meenemen. Dankjewel, hé. Super mooi gemaakt. Ik ben je super dankbaar, want ik vind het echt heel mooi. Dankjewel.